Yeah. Welcome. Yes, thank you. You're more than gracious. Thank you. Good afternoon. You are.
It's the Mann show.
Right. EMIYTV, Put Your Family First podcast, and I am your host, Dr. Calvin T. Mann, our co-host, Dr. Hetaru. Hello. Yes, and Dr. Dave.
Hey. I'm gonna give you a new intro. Here's Calvin.
All right.
And his best partner, Heather LaRue. I got some special effects on that.
Right. That's that Specs Howard.
Yeah.
Right, and so today we're going to get into it. Today it's about boys and literacy and the things that boys need. So we're going to jump right in. I'm going to tell you why. First of all, there was a video release where Torre was talking about black males are not in college, right? There's an indictment out there. I've been speaking on it for years, and I think at some point women are going to be held accountable in this conversation, as well as men, as well as fathers and the community. You're going to be held accountable. And when we don't have males in trades and college, the culture is failing itself, right? And we're talking to the black culture specifically. Normally we come on, we're talking to everybody. Today we're talking specifically to the black culture. What is amazing was how he did it, and he did it in a shocking manner in sharing that black males were not in college. In fact, other cultures were taking advantage of HBCUs and the things like that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the process is black males were not in college, right? Dave would slap you for that one because Dave been in college half his life.
Yeah, I was 19.
Right. And so,
and now what is it?
Right. I keep dipping back in. I'm going back again. I'm going back again, right? And so the narrative is what do boys need, right? And we are consistently adversarial against our women. We are consistently adversarial against the fathers. We are consistently not understanding a few things about males. And as we've gotten into it, I find that the conversation is very quick and that we don't really want to discuss it or talk about it. I find it very brief, right? Because we're very good at saying what is not present, right? It's the same thing with the black history, the culture. We're very good at the pain, but very poor at the success. And those dynamics is what continues to breed the pain versus the success. You're not understanding what is at stake, right? And so the philosophy meaning legacy. What does that mean? I pass down to the next generation. Well, we've been poor at that. We continuously pass down. We fight for very little, and we continuously pass down the things that we like to claim that to be simple. If it's easy, count me in, right? But everything that is successful has to be hard. There's no such thing as ease, and we
Easy, maybe ease.
It doesn't happen. Even the people that's being in every successful story, there's an incredible journey. It blows my mind how in these stories there are obstacles that we believe that somehow that's not the process. So yeah, it might be ease for the level, but if you're trying to achieve great outcomes. If you're trying to achieve great outcomes, i.e. building with title on the building, name, 100 employees, those types of things, nothing is easy. If you're trying to obtain $1 million, nothing is easy. If you're trying to obtain an education, nothing is easy. Work makes you better. Hard makes you better. Period.
I'm not quite there.
Yeah, well, that's obvious.
I'm in full agreement with you in terms of pouring into the work. But I think that when you are sometimes aligned, I think that there's opportunities, and I'm not saying easy by no stretch, but I do recognize that some things fall in line, and different people, how their journey is laid out before them, they have a greater sense of ease than somebody else may, looking at the same journey or the same path, or even the same obstacles. So I think that some things are possible, and so I don't think it's limitations, and I don't think there's a one size fits all. I think that to me has more to do with that ease than things being easy or not a level of difficulty. Because some people, there's some things people can have a mad chess game when it comes to them at this point in the journey with ease. Maybe they went through something to get there, but at this point, when you see the results of their work, I think it could be different.
Did you understand that? I didn't understand that.
You want me run it back for you? No,
right at the end you said they've gone through some things, which was my point, and then you said, then at the end, that's not the same. No,
I'm just saying it's not a one size fits all. So one size fits all, meaning that it's not always all hard for people. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying it's not the possibility that some things may come with ease for some people.
Yeah, I think sometimes when we think about ease, it's just a matter of attitude, because we can have people who are privileged and they seem to believe their life is hard. And then you have people whose lives are not so privileged and they felt the struggle was the opportunity. They don't deem it hard. But there are obstacles that exist for African American people, especially black men, because there are systems in place that compromises us. And so we have to take routes or different directions that many people don't have to take. But some of that goes back to what you said, Calvin. What type of legacy do we build so we can create that avenue of ease, if you will?
Well, and then is it really ease if I hand you what I've done in 18 years? Is that going to be easy for you? No. I'm going to hand you this. Is that going to be easy for you? No. But you can't hand a person a journey. We've seen thousands of millionaires hand their corporation over to their sons or daughters, and they disappeared.
Right, but that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
sometimes it's a matter of attitude and perception, because again, you just laid that out. If somebody hand you the legacy, you don't value. It's like a kid getting a car. Well, as long as I'm giving you a car, you cool. You drive it any kind of way, do your thing, don't keep it up. But when you start playing that car, that insurance, you got a different attitude.
You got a different attitude, right? So the same about the boy. We think that the boy only needs this. And our boys are only getting 25 to 30% raising. And when we get into that dynamic, we can start because today we're starting at literacy, right? We're starting at books. We have books left over come Wednesday when I pull up on the elementary in Pontiac. The leftover books from the book giveaway will be gone. And so these are some of the books that the kids were able to come in and see. And so people was on, well, the kids should be able to see themselves in these books, right? If you hold up, right, the kids supposed to be able to see themselves in these books, right? And that's what we did, right? We held our part and our perception, the whole nine, our accountability, the whole nine. But things that boys need, right? And as we get into this reading thing, things that boys need. One, I was asked a question today. I was on a phone call and I was asked a question today, Dave, like, what is it that you are doing that's different from everybody else? And I said, I don't know, because I don't know everybody else. All I know is that there's only a movement for boys in programming to a certain amount of funding. So it forces us in some cases to be individualized, right? Mm-hmm. Then when you look at the boys, right, there's a severe amount of gatekeeping, mm-hmm. which then with the gatekeeping forces the culture and the community to fall behind, right? Because it's the same thing that I noticed years ago with education. When we opened up the door to a certain facility and we seen all these new computers and everything that wasn't in the schools are being used, and we saw all these new books that was just sitting there, they weren't being used, is when I discovered that a lot of money from the city had to be sent back because it wasn't spent. So they sent it to other communities. It wasn't being spent in at DPS and in Detroit, right? So here's where charters and things like that come. But at the same time, we've lost the direction for the boy, in my opinion, right? So with literacy being a thing, as we did Saturday with the book giveaway, there were a lot of promises. No, we had a good day. We pulled the RV out. But there were several promises. Groups was going to come, and people were going to come for there, and I'm going to send a couple of my guys, and there were a lot of promises made for these boys, but none of them were kept. Mm-hmm. We didn't see the group. We didn't see right, because guess why? If I help your group, right, and I bring my group of, maybe my group might like, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe the people, I don't know. That's not us. But our share is not reciprocated. Right? And that's the dynamic that is causing a considerable amount of issues for boys as well. Miss Heather, dive in, because I've been going and I'm on one.
I see.
Okay.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to bring a few of the books is to help our community know that we can start at any point. Mm-hmm. But for that comment, especially that I hear quite often, is that our boys don't see themselves in the books. That's one of the reasons why I really appreciate your Adventures of Hope and Luther, because you actually have boys in it. You have a variety of boys from different cultures. You also have in that book of their Emmy kids, there's some girls in there too. But the point is that it opens the door for us to show how our boys are valued. It's something when you see yourself. I know how I would feel, or how I used to feel when we would watch like the Miss Universe pageant, and there's a woman in it that looks like you. That it just made all the difference in the world. And that was something that actually my mom used to watch that. But to be able to see yourself in it allows you to envision your possibilities. It opens the door to your possibilities. And so I was happy to kind of go through some of these books and look at what some of the subject matter was, some things that might be interesting. This particular book is called Desmond Cole Ghost Patrol, The Haunted House Next Door. and it's illustrated nicely. The letters are nice and big. And one of the things that it made me appreciate is when you all were involved in the Reading is Life project. And that 6-week program, both Dave and Calvin were involved in watching them and how they were interacting with the boys and how they allowed, and Melvin too, he did a good job too. But the reading of the stories drew the boys in. Because not only were they listening to the voices of the men, but they were also connecting with them. Sitting in front of them, couldn't wait to hear what they were going to say next. Couldn't wait to see what was happening next in the story. Couldn't wait to learn some of the new words. It was incredible. It was incredible. And so that feeling that you get watching boys connect with men who are fathers is priceless. It's priceless. And so when I think about the variety of books, and not only just seeing yourself, but seeing a man read also is, a motivator for you reading. And, and helping me pick out the words or sounding out the words or doing that together helps me to overcome my fear or my doubt or my shame in wherever I am. And so as I'm overcoming those barriers and those obstacles to reading, to literacy, it's increasing my value because you see enough in me to want to share these moments with me. You see enough in me to bring me a book where I can envision it myself in it. And I can learn new words and I can feel like I'm making progress and I can feel like I'm succeeding. Even the small ingredients, right? All ingredients counts, even those small steps. And so it's really exciting to see a book come alive for a child, and to see the connection between people as they enjoy that experience together. And I'm just one that is, I love seeing that, and I'm glad that the book drive that we're having, and that we'll continue to have a few of these books on the mobile mentoring bus and still be able to drive up on kids, drive up on boys and say, look, you're in here too. What does this mean to you? Doesn't it sound like a great title? Like just having a conversation, but being able to offer something to them that they can have and own and help them develop as they go. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
It is. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was going to say, she brought up that. And not only is it just having someone that look like you in the book, but having someone who's invested in you. These kids that we were working with through the project, the pilot of the project of Reading is Life, they came in, they were rebellious kids, they were hyper kids, they were all over the place, and they were untrusting kids. We're not their parents. But by the second week, they were coming in, running in, excited, and they were ready to read and engage. But you have to place them in the position to have that opportunity, because that's what it is. We have taken away the ideal of reading these hardcover page books because we've gotten so caught up in the computer that we lost sight of the value of touching the page, experiencing the stories of it. So it's so significant when, you see someone that looks like you. I was speaking at Martin Luther King, and the kids said, well, those books, y'all giving us all this stuff here. Ain't nobody looking like me, ain't about me. I said, well, where's the books about us? And I said, well, why don't you write a book? Then it'll be about us because you're writing it. But we have to start somewhere, and this is where Calvin and Heather, who are the founders of this program, have pushed hard. Well, some of you asked the question, what makes you different? What makes this program, EMI and Good Father Only, different? The consistency. No matter what comes their way, what obstacles they face, what mountains they have to go over, they stay consistent, and they don't rely on just outside sources. I know I'm kind of pushing this button a little bit, but you are different. I've been blessed enough to travel enough, seen enough to know what programs are about and who's invested in it, and you guys invest. You are the difference that's making a difference. It's a hard road, but hey, you smoothing it out as you go. So.
Oh, blessings.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Dave. Right, but it gets to a piece. Let's get to a piece of where, right, in the coming months, I moved up, Chantel. I got us Dave. I got us a calendar lead. Right, so we're gonna send it out to the people. who, so we're going to have some guests. We're going to send it across the country to a number of men and groups and have some guests where we will get into some conversation that I've been having. But the other part about this piece that we're talking about, the literacy part, is this is a start for a child. And when we don't give a child a proper start, right, we've already pushed them behind. The system is there. It's a stop sign, it's a stoplight. The system is there. It's already out there. But if I run it, right, or if I do something illegal, I go to jail, right? That's the system. But if I stay within the lines of the system, right, and figure out some other parts of the system, I still have an opportunity to succeed in the system. But if I don't understand the beginning, if I never put the car in drive, it doesn't move. Literacy is the D in life, right? Because what we're doing is missing a real important piece to the start of the boy. So he would be off. Right? If I sit in the class and everybody can go to the board and read and I can't, what else am I supposed to do? Wouldn't I act up? Or would I be quiet and sad and don't say nothing? And then they just pass me on. He really hasn't said nothing. Well, maybe he can color. No, he can't read. Right? Meanwhile, the parents, and this is not the norm, but it seems like it's the norm for children, for the parents, drug use, for the parents, argumentative, for the parents, parental alienation, for the parents, you can't see your son, for the parents. They don't really punish you. It's not really a punishment or you not seeing your daughter. It's almost calculated that you can't see your son, because I know how valuable and what that means to you. So parental alienation, which affects millions of men in this country, and more than not the case, and you don't need me to do this, because if I pull it up, you're not going to like it. You can go look it up yourself. But parental alienation is an attack, not just on the father, but the children. When we deny a father access to his children, we are putting our children behind. Yeah, and you can say whatever the hell, whatever excuse you want to make, whatever the process you want to put in play. Our boys at this point in juncture in this country should be able to read and compete with any and everybody in every culture. I don't care if you're Asian, whatever the case may be. We keep making it difficult for black boys to compete in the marketplace simply because we don't teach them to read. And you're helping the system incarcerate, obliterate, rape them, misuse them, kill them, gang infest them. You're helping the system contribute to the poor side of the society, where it affects all of us, because when they see one, racism sees all. So now you, regardless to your education or whatever, has to make an adjustment, because you the dude that just ran in the store on the nightly news. We don't even have our own news where you can go out and police and show white people and all these other people in their crimes. We don't do that. We just keep taking it. And the boy is paying a heavy price. So I'm just getting off that horse because, again, I did start out and say I was on one. I made it clear that when I came in here,
you bucking.
Yeah, that I was on one, right? So what does the boy need? Literacy, right? Reading is life. We have a campaign, Reading is Life. It takes a donation. Somebody donated $5 the other day. I was just like, that's what I'm talking about. Reading is life, right? because we got 100 boys on the waiting list, and we have the sense of urgency, but the community does not have a sense of urgency for our boys until they're on the news.
That's right. It's funny you said that, because this morning my prayer call, they were praying for whoever blew up some area. I forgot which. Yeah, 12 people. And so, you know, you have these activities going on because, again, hurt people. And then they start right now. There's another case where a young man killed a young lady. And so, again, I remember we was at Covenant House, and the young girls came to us, how come y'all don't talk to us? And we said, we're trying to get the boys ready for you. They're out here struggling. And then I was talking to another gentleman who I see, and he told me he was a supervisor, so he decided doing his, what they call a PowerPoint. He said, well, I'm not going to read. I'm going to let the other people read. And they couldn't read. And he said he thanked God for his education. Not that he had advanced education, just finished high school. So it is so significant, because if you can't read, you can't venture, because your mind is not expanded beyond your vocabulary. So it's so important that, I mean, as you said, I've been in school forever and a day and probably never stop going. But every time I go, I get a little bit more information. It's not being smarter than somebody else, or out-knowing someone else, or matter of fact, being right. It's about expanding my mind, my horizons, to be able to see things from a broader perspective. If I never leave the block of North Line, that's all I'm going to know is North Line. You got to venture out, and reading allows you to venture.
Shani, can you put up the flyer for the Hills, the Thrills, the Steals for this Friday? Miss Heather, if you could talk about that.
Yes. I don't know how much this is connected to literacy, but
I can read them legs. Show wearing them shoes. Right. Shoes. Oh, that's right. I know how to spell heels. See, I better read it to see what them sexy legs about.
So this Friday is an amazing event. It is called How to Walk in Heels, and it's a level of self-care where you're gathering with other women who want to have a good time, who want to learn something a little bit new, to connect to each other, but to have an opportunity to build your own signature. And so part of that signature is your signature walk, your shoe statement, and just to be able to have some fun with that. Some women have asked questions. I'm mostly in heels. If I'm not in heels, then I don't have any shoes on at all. But most of my journey has been in heels. And so I've been in heels since I was 11. I had my first pair of mules at that time. But I've been wearing heels since I've been 11. And some of the things that you learn about foot care, how you can build your endurance to walk in certain types of heels, to choose the right shoe for you, still make a shoe statement regardless of the type of shoe you're wearing. So a lot of that information is going to be shared, along with some fun and a little bit more self-exploration, because we need to continue to expand. So it will be this Friday. Tickets are on sale on Eventbrite, so you can find us there. Or you can go to our website at yourinspiredjourney.com. Yourinspiredjourney.com. You can register there also.
Awesome. So, thank you. So, in this process, the next process is about what do boys need, right? We are often having conversation. If you notice, there's a conversation about relationships that usually begin with that the man is always wrong. It usually starts with the man is no good. And every opportunity there is to use him as an excuse, I will use him in the court. Like, there are some cases for parental alienation where I can walk into a court. This is what I tell men that come to me about how to get to their children. This is a jewel. This is what I tell them. You can expect at least 5 lies in that court. She's going to tell 5 lies to prevent you from seeing your kid. You can at least expect 5. The court is going to allow her to do it. But guess why? If there are children at stake, right? Let's just say black children or children in poverty. Those children, if those children are at stake, it reduces the competition. I don't have to worry about your kids at all being competitive in this competitive market. I don't have to worry about them at all. Why do I got to worry about them? They going to jail. I mean, if they had the law, if you wasn't reading by 3, who's most impacted by that? The boy. Mm-hmm. The boy is impacted by that. If it's 14 times, you're 14 times likely to be moved to a daycare as a black boy. What does that say about the black community in accepting that our boys have this reading level? This doesn't exclude our girls, because some of our girls are not reading. They just had a lawsuit, right? This doesn't exclude our girls. What this is saying, this is an indictment, right, on what you and I talked about the irresponsibility of breeding. Mm-hmm. That's right. Procreating. That's right. Having sex. Whatever title you want to put on it. The irresponsible. You see the irresponsible conversations where we think that an abortion, paying for an abortion, right, is a contraceptive. You got to pay for that. There's no way you can get around that behavior at all. The fact that you think that a woman is supposed to be the only one that protect herself and you enter her raw with your seed means you don't have no respect for yourself or your seed that you carry. You're not valuing it. And then you want to blame her. But you the man, right? But you want to be the lead until it's time. Well, that falls on our sons. You see? So then our sons got this makeup from your foolishness. And I wanted to get in that today, and I'm really going to tap into that. It's called epigenetics. Epigenetics, it's the seed. It's the DNA. It's the coding, right? Every lie, every story, every incident, every theft, every drug use, every manipulation, every rape, every murder is on that seed. It's on the seed. So when you think that you can just go out here and lay down with a woman, you don't love her, you're not in process of love, what do you think that child is going to be made of? The very things that you are on. This is how the system has stopped worrying about you, because they've already distorted your seed. Because I'm going to help you not be able to read. I'm going to help you not be able to do math. When do our children be cited that they're important enough that we even marry each other? Where the black woman is not just seen as Aunt Jemima, that she's this woman that she just supposed to take care of you so you can go out here and marry other cultures and things like that. My mama raised me. My mother was involved with me. So I'm not going to value that enough to see that on somebody else? No. That's what's happening to our boys. See, it's not just on the mom, it's the irresponsibility of the man who's not there and who says, here's the one that drives me crazy, because guess what? It's on your DNA seed, right? It's on there, right? So here's what this one that drives me crazy. He gonna be all right. My mama raised me. I turned out all right. And you just show up. And you play video games till wee hours in the morning, and your son is across the way, and you're not fighting to see him or teach him. Your daughter, in fact, she's going to have her period earlier, so her body is going through metamorphosis without you, and you can't understand that. Why? Because you have no knowledge of self. You have three things that a boy needs that is required. He is required the presence of you at the beginning. He's required sound mind, sound judgment, and protection from you. That's the second thing. And third, it is your responsibility to teach him the very thing that you crave from everybody else, respect. In that process, when you spend that time, you're going to teach him how to read, because then if you're an involved father, you can see what he needs out there. I can call 50 fathers right now in my phone. Every last one of them has a relationship and a conversation with their son to prevent them from failure. Every last one of them was there, went to the school. I've had fathers who bought artificial hearts for a boy that wasn't theirs. I've had fathers raise boys that were not even theirs, knew it wasn't theirs, into a man, only to find the DNA test ruled that he wasn't the father. And he still loved that boy and that girl. I've seen it since I've got into this. So what does a boy need? Heather, I'm coming to you. What does a boy need?
A boy needs a role model. A boy needs a man, a healthy man to model. They need to see it up close and personal. They need to see it in the classroom or in the school. They need to see it at the corner store. They need to see it next door when they're walking outside. They need to see it at the park when they're playing basketball. They need to see positive healthy male models. They need to see a man that's not smoking. They need to see a man that's not drinking. They need to see a man that's not, his mouth is not full of profanity. They need to see a man who is uplifting and encouraging another man and including them. They need positive models.
Brother Day, what does boys need? Thank you, Heather.
I think that a boy needs to know that they are valued. And the one way that they know that they are valued is that you are present. No matter what, you need to be present. And I find that that is so often the case where the boys would say that my dad is not around. I want to be with my dad. And unfortunately, over the course of time, if the dad is not around, then the value gets put down. And the kid doesn't have, as Heather say, the model to emulate. When I studied with the Buddhists in Thailand, there were things you had to do, there were patterns you had to follow, and there were philosophy you had to adhere to. But if you're not around to hear that or go through that, then you don't have a foundation to build on. Being present to build that model, as Heather said, as Calvin said, will help that boy to be able to become a man. As you often say, Calvin, he starts as a boy, becomes a man, becomes a husband, and becomes a father. There's a pattern, but each of those roles requires some level of accountability, responsibility that is passed on from the people who already are in those roles. So we have to be present, and it's not just here I am, I showed up. Is actively engaging with that child. Sometimes it's not about the quantity of time, it's the quality of time that you invest in that child. You let that child know that they mean something. And you start where you at. Everybody's not going to have a PhD. Everybody's not going to have a master's. Everybody's not going to be rich. But you have what the scripture tells us. Peter says, silver and gold I don't have, but what I have I'll give you, which is love. We need to know how to let those boys know they are valued. They got to be, and you got to be present.
I have another one. Boys need to flex imagination. Mm-hmm. They need to be able to imagine what they are in the world, where they are in the world, what the world could look like, that it could be different from what they may see every day, that their contributions, of course, have value, but they can create that space that is not in a virtual world. And I think that's one of the draws to video games, is that they get to be the king of this imaginary, of this virtual world, not imaginary because it's established by somebody else, but they get to be the hero in this virtual world versus being the hero in the present world that they're a part of and have the ability to create and reconstruct.
Can I inject in that too? That is so significant. As soon as you said it, I thought about my grandfather. Now this is going to date me a little bit, but there used to be a show coming called National Geographic, and George Perot present and Jacques Cousteau, and because he would mandate me to watch these shows, then my mind would be able to venture and see myself in these locations, see myself doing these things. Fast forward to date, I set out when I left home 50 years ago that I was going to do those adventurous things. And so these countries, there's not too many shows that I'm not going to watch on TV that I haven't been in close proximity to those locations, because my grandfather stimulated my imagination. Reading is another thing that I open up saying, when you read, you can imagine. You have to use your imagination. And in that, it begins to develop that creativity, that desire to expand. I have a young fellow I deal with right now as a client. And this kid is imagining, because he loves cars, and he can tell you the model, the make, and the specs, and he's only 9 because someone took time with him, his parents, to help stimulate that imagination.
That was Cam. What I need you to do, right? I need you to pick up the book, Miss Heather. I need you to read the excerpt. Dave, pick up in one of your books. I need you to read an excerpt, as if you're reading to a child, because we never know who this is going to impact.
The book is Desmond Cole, Ghost Patrol, The Haunted House Next Door, by Andreas Meidoso, illustrated by Victor Riveras. I'm reading from Chapter 7, The Flying Table. Inside the house, everything looked normal. The furniture was where it was supposed to be, and nothing appeared to be moving on its own. Mom and Dad were hanging up pictures and asked for my help. They know I love hammering nails. After the last picture was hung, Mom said it was time for lunch and asked me to set the table. I walked to the kitchen as slowly as possible and peeked inside. Luckily, there weren't any scary silverware people. As I put out the plates, Dad poured his world-famous lemonade, and Mom heated up Mrs. Cole's lasagna. Mom put the dish on the table, and that lasagna looked and smelled delicious. I wanted to dig right in, but I could hear Desmond in my head warning me to stay away from it.
Thank you. Brother Dave.
Dave the Potter, the Artist, the Poet, the Slave, by Laban Carrick Hill, illustrated by Brian Collar. I want to read this piece because I think it's so significant. There's sometimes we bypass the opening of the book. It said, to us, it's just dirt. The ground we walk on, but today it was clay. The plain and basic stuff upon which we found formed in life as a slave nearly 200 years ago. Dave was an extraordinary artist, poet, and potter who lived in South Carolina in the 1800s. He combined his superb artistry and deeply observant poetry, carving onto his pot, transcending the limitations he faced as a slave. In this inspiring and lyrical portrait, National Book Award finalist Laban Carrick Hill and award-winning artist Brian Collar tells Dave's remarkable story, the one rich history and hope and long-lasting history. And this illustration is beautiful. I just want to show it right quick because the work is just amazing. This is what I mean by the imagination. To us, it's just dirt. The ground we walk on, scoop up a handful, the gritty grain slipping between your fingers. On a wet day, heavy with rainwater, it is cool and squishy in mud pie heaven. But to Dave, it was clay, the plain and basic stuff upon which we learned to form a life as a slave nearly 200 years ago. To us, it's just a pot, round and tall, good for keeping marbles or fresh-cut flowers. But to Dave, it was a pot large enough to store a seasoned grain harvest, to put up the salt meat and whole memories.
Thank you. The book, The Night Creepers, by Linda Stanek, and illustrated by Shannon Bersani. Waking up. Red foxes are adaptable hunters and have a reputation for being smart and tricky. Mother foxes, called vixens, give birth to litters of 2 to 12 pups in the summer. Both parents take care of their babies until their little ones are ready to venture out on their own in the fall. Red foxes live throughout North America, Europe, Asia, and even parts of Africa. Nosy pup. Once gray wolves lived throughout most of North America, but they were hunted to near extinction. Now, with the help of scientists, they are making a comeback. They live in family groups called packs of about 8 individuals, even howl, growl, whine, and bark. Their howls can be heard miles away. Reading is life. In order for you to go anywhere, you have had to see it in your mind. Reading in words allows us to expand our visions and allows us to be used in purpose, in compassion, in solutions. But it starts with the alphabet and it goes into words. In some countries, you're mandated to know 3 different languages.
That's right.
Only in America, right, we accept 1, which then is enforced across the world. The English language is supposed to be the hardest language to learn. I find those Spanish and the mother languages may be even harder. So I'm challenging myself to learn another language. On the low, I have been practicing on my phone, right? Because I got my mentees to start learning a language, and I've been looking, and I'm telling you, it won't stick for nothing. And I'm having the hardest time, but I'm still in between my time, still in the way at picking a language and learning some through the language translator. I'm sure I can get it and put it in my head and start working on it that way, but I got some other things in my path. So, with that being said, I asked you guys to read because these are clips, and those clips, they should be shared because you never know who needs to be read to.
Yes.
That's actually one of my favorite romantic events is for my husband to read to me, especially poetry. Yeah. Right.
There you go. Read that poetry, brother.
You know, Dave, it's man, it's really, we make it so tough on these boys, man. Mm-hmm. We make it so tough on these boys, and we just make it tough, right? And so, Heather, Dave, give me your last piece and tell them where they can meet you at, reach you at, or greet you at.
I'm going to take it from this book, Dave the Potter, Dave the Potter, the artist, the poet, the slave. We have to let go of that slave mentality. I'm talking about from the mind. And so it's so significant that they'd be said that once they were slaves and they had shackles around their legs, but then they took the shackles off because they didn't need to worry about you running because they had your mind. So it's important that we take the gift of artistry and the ability to write the poetry that sends the message to others to use their mind, be creative, be active, and be intentional. We have to help our boys to read so they can be all 3. They don't have to be a slave to negativity or the inability to read, because there's opportunities for you to be able to expand your mind. And you can reach me at FMAM on Facebook or drome7@yahoo.com. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I want to just point out that some books, especially books that encourage learning and reading, have a glossary at the back of their book. So that gives you an opportunity to learn new words and be very intentional about those words. So this one has a glossary, and they're talking about carnivore, cold-blooded, conclusion, herbivore, hypothesis, omnivore. So it just offers a little bit of vocabulary building in reference to the story. So I think that's really helpful. I can be reached at yourinspiredjourney.com. That's yourinspiredjourney.com. You can also reach me by phone, so you can pick up the phone and call me at 313-759-7855. That's 313 759-7855.
You want to remind them about the heels and the thrills on this Friday?
And don't forget to get your ticket registered for How to Walk in Heels. Come in for a good time. It's going to be a great time. And come and share your shoe statement and your signature walk.
So I'm trying not to get emotional. And it's hard right now. It's very hard right now not to. It's there's a thing. It was a song from a cartoon that says it's a difficult responsibility. The Toy Maker, you remember that? Mm-hmm. It's a difficult responsibility. So I was 20 years old, being kicked out of college, and my own expense was on me. I was longing for my dad and the different things I had opportunity. And I remember, like, the air that I breathe, how I can reflect how I was treated. I was a little boy that literally very, very talented, right? Very poor guidance, right? Had a great brothers and sisters, right? We were sports oriented. I got to work out, train, do all the things, for the dream, the sports dream. And then I was introduced to women, girls, right? When I walk in, because that was the thing. How can I get some girls, Dave? Mm-hmm. So in the 9th grade, my brother's sitting there. Oh, you want to get some girls? I can show you how to get some girls, But I was taught to read. So I could ask questions and I can expand. Mm-hmm. Because I had to go to the library and those things and really write. I had to write one-page reports. Mm-hmm. If I was bored, it was take your ass to the library. Mm-hmm. So the library wasn't close to us. I'm on Prairie and 8 Mile. Mm-hmm. So I had to walk to the library. Now, the library at that point, 7 Mile, right there, 7 Mile between Illinois. That's where the library's at. Yeah. Then, from there, paper route, all those things. Our kids are trapped in the house right now with gadgets. But they're not trapped in the house with books. I seen the family that there were no TVs in the kids' room. They turned the living room into an education facility. And everybody's graduating 16, 14, 12. Getting their doctor's degree at 21, like the whole family was focused, right? But what they had in their home was a library. Mm-hmm. We had library. We had the books. We had the people to come to the door, sell you the encyclopedias. Mm-hmm. If I went over my Aunt Gussie house, we had math because my Aunt Gussie was responsible for the math. She'd bust you over the knuckles with that big zoo pencil if you didn't understand. 2 + 2, 8 × 8, 6 × 4, right? Mm-hmm. You had to do that math, right? Because you needed to know the count. Because my family, with the garage sales, they learned to hustle, manipulate, go through. I don't mean to use the word manipulate, but they learned to hear some ways to be smart about your money. Mm-hmm. So what was your budget? My Aunt Inez was the teacher of the budget to the whole family. Like everybody had to have a budget. right? She learned to budget. Make sure you budget so you know where your money going, so you can save your money, put your money in safe places, teach your money how to grow. Right? Here I'm in high school, I'm in everything. Madrigals, I'm singing in the choir, I'm playing sports. But the people, I had some bad people in my life where I needed a Calvin and a Dave. Somebody that could grab me and corral me and tell me, like, you don't have to just stop here. I'm reminded of when my boy Big Will called me on the phone. He said, man, you are encouraging me. I'm young. You wasn't supposed to make it, brother. We wasn't supposed to make it at all. Why? We come from single households. The statistics against us, bubs. We wasn't supposed to make it. Look at you. You done made it, man. You done did albums. You done. Look at you. We don't give these boys a chance at all. And I don't understand for the life of me how we walk around yelling and screaming about black this, black that, we all this, and our boys and our girls cannot read. If it's one thing that is anti-slavery and poverty, it's reading. And I'm in rooms and I'm dealing with people, they don't have no sense of urgency, and they pretend like everything is going to be okay. I'm in one room I've been in for 2 years. If I could run back what we've accomplished in 2 years, and what we've accomplished in 2 years, it wouldn't be close. We move too slow for our children, and that's a problem. My name is Dr. Calvin T. Mann. I'm the president and founder of Encourage Me, I'm Young. You can reach me at calvintmann.com. God bless you and encourage me. I'm young.
It's all about that.